Can we start the video upside down? Ah! Ah! Shortest intro of the year. 2024. We've already christened it the year of sequels.
Yep.
So why not start the year talking about sequels?
Let's christen the year with sequel talk.
We have chosen 5 sequels that we declare that are better than the originals.
Yep.
We're not going with the obvious ones. Well, one's kind of
There's one pretty
one
obvious
one.
yeah.
But we're not going with Dark Knight. We're not going with Spider-Man 2.
No.
We're not going with
Godfather 2.
We're not going with Godfather 2. I was about to say Die Hard with a Vengeance, but some people absolutely hate that movie.
Listen, I have some complicated thoughts on Die Hard. I think Die Hard with a Vengeance, incredible movie.
Yes, but there is an argument for that it's better than the first.
Yes.
But anyways, we could have included that, but we didn't.
No.
We chose some kind of off-the-wall ones.
Truly bananas picks on our part. Because I think
especially one that you're going to talk about.
Because I think... But you know what? We didn't go that bananas because we didn't put D2 the Mighty Ducks on there. Just for the record, D2 the Mighty Ducks, the superior Ducks movie. I think when we were looking, we were like, listen, we could talk about so many sequels.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. Sequels kind of just just better.
Because you already know the characters.
You already know the characters.
Yeah.
And we could just really go crazy and pick like ones that are gonna make either people mad or people be like, interesting.
Yeah. And we sort of find a balance.
Yeah, we found a balance.
So let's start with the obvious one.
Okay.
Paddington 2.
Paddington 2.
Everyone loves this movie.
Yes.
I've not seen it. But
it's really good.
And Paddington 3 is coming out this year. So.
Paddington in Peru. Paddington 1's pretty tame. I mean, given the fact that Nicole Kidman is on a mission to stuff Paddington. And then this one's like, what if we sent Paddington to prison?
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. So the first one, you have the Browns, and it's Paddington changing the Browns, which the Browns, while a little boring, are a little like...
family?
Yeah, the family. Okay. While a little separated, and maybe not, vibing together, they have their differences or whatever. To have Paddington change someone like that doesn't seem like that far of a stretch.
Yeah.
But to then say, what if we sent Paddington to prison and he just changed the whole vibe of the prison with his positivity and his fun? That's just incredible. It's just, you're like, what a swing that pays off.
The best sequels are when they go bananas, basically. Yeah. I liken it to going from Trolls 1 to Trolls World Tour.
Yes. It's just the same kind of whimsical fun as the first one, but then you introduce like Brendan Gleeson as this prison cook who is great. And there's something about
huge cast, actually.
Huge cast. And there's something just about seeing incredible actor Brendan Gleeson interacting with a fake bear, like a CGI bear.
Yeah. And then Hugh Grant.
This is kind of the start of Hugh Grant's like, I'm embracing my age and I'm embracing my like cynicism of the world, and I'm going to be bad guys.
Yeah.
And then he just has a great run of like this, Dungeons and Dragons. There's another one I'm forgetting, but the power of Paddington and Paul King is what still has me a little interested in like a Wonka. That it's like, if you're able to send a bear to prison and like have him escape. Oh yeah, I know what it is. So what's so great about this one, I think, is that yes, you have, the first one is a lot of Paddington being like, what is this? What is a toothbrush? And just being very cute. What's ketchup? Like, this is all interesting.
What is ketchup?
What is ketchup? And then this one, it really they really hit like, what is it like to be a part of a group, to then maybe be also like left behind and grown past. People grow up and they get over things. And you're like, dang, what a jump to be like, what are things, to like, what is like life, and to be left behind by people, and that things are not always gonna be around. And I think it's just it's a great kids movie that it's fun for adults, it's fun for kids, and it's just kind of like, it's a nice, just fun time that says something.
Let's move on to, these are all 2s, by the way. There's no 3s in this. Maybe we could do a sequel to this.
Ooh.
And it'll be better than this one.
I think 3s are a little harder to nail down on best 3s.
We're going to Rush Hour 2.
Okay.
the first one, it's Fish Out of Water. Jackie Chan comes to America.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah. The very classic Fish Out of Water story. But it's taking the Jackie Chan style of movies and bringing it to America, even though he had done Rumble in the Bronx. But this is because of the success of Rumble in the Bronx and a couple of other movies. This one, they go to Hong Kong. Chris Tucker's the Fish Out of Water.
Classic.
And it's, it's the Jackie Chan style of movies, but with an American twist. The fights aren't what you go to watch for Rush Hour. They're cool. They're not the best Jackie Chan ones.
I think this one. There's the one I always remember, and it's they're in the
massage bar.
They're in the massage parlor, and they're in towels, and it's just fun. Yes. It's like okay, because there's not really one like that in Rush Hour 1. There's some cool stuff, but there's not like a gimmicky one, which is like straight up like Jackie Chan. Like, what if, let's put him in a situation, he doesn't have any clothes on. He just got a towel. How's he going to fight with just a towel?
And he does it.
He does it.
And Chris Tucker does it.
Yeah. It is really like, hey, what if we put Chris Tucker in just every environment in Hong Kong? Just let him just talk. Yeah.
The bloopers.
Oh, that's...
Gefilte fish. Chris Tucker being unable to say gefilte fish is perhaps the greatest blooper ever played after any movie.
And this is really, I think, peak like credits bloopers.
Yes.
This is like, because did they do it in the first one?
They did in the first one, the second one, and the third one.
And then I feel like as like this is all happening, then like everyone's like, well, we need to have bloopers over our credits too.
And then it slowly, after like 2005, people just stopped. To have Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker make 3 very successful buddy action comedy movies is just amazing.
And still like kind of flirt with the idea of maybe we could do a 4th one. Yeah. I don't know how they do it. I think they're both pretty old.
I don't know. I hope they don't, but they're gonna. Speaking of a buddy cop series that probably overstayed its welcome, but didn't overstay it for the second one, I'm of course talking about Lethal Weapon 2.
I think there's only one that overstays its welcome, and that's 4.
4, yes. That's why I brought up Rush Hour.
Yes, and it is, but yeah, Lethal Weapon 2.
It's 100% the best one.
I don't know why Lethal Weapon 2 isn't talked about more in like the greatest sequels of all time.
Greatest action movies.
It's just, it is so good. And really, like one scene alone just earns it. And it's the toilet scene.
Which gets parodied.
I think like the whole movie is great, but like for that scene alone to not like get you automatically on a top 10 of best sequels like is insane.
I think the only reason is because the final scene of Lethal Weapon, Gary Busey and Mel Gibson, is so great.
And the Christmas tree and everything.
Yes.
Or the
that some people forget that Lethal Weapon 2 basically is as good as that whole that scene. It's the whole movie.
Yeah.
And you get Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. You Joe Pesci
doing comedy before or around the same time as Home Alone.
Yeah, it's real close.
Yeah, so it's like when people see like Goodfellas, Joe Pesci, and Home Alone, they're like, "Oh man, he already did it."
Yeah,
and he did My Cousin Vinny around the same time too.
Yeah.
So it's like, but also you get Mel Gibson before he went crazy. Mm-hmm. You get
Danny Glover.
Still
way too old.
I was thinking Murtaugh.
Yeah.
But Danny Glover, yes, old but still young.
Weird that it's like the whole bit was that he was about to retire and that he is too old.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he's
not that old in the movie.
He's like in his 40s or something.
Like,
right?
Could you imagine retiring at 40 and be like, well, that's it for me.
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
But yeah, no, it's good. It's got now iconic diplomatic immunity. I mean, everyone says that, and it's just that man is a great. I cannot think of his name, but the bad guy from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
I forgot his name too.
I think he passed recently, and so and that's what I think I'll always remember him for is diplomatic immunity. It's just cool. Late 80s, early 90s LA, where you're like, then there's just like some guitars. It's just it is the daddest of franchises, but a dad franchise that you're like, I love this so much. Even before, like, my dad showed me Lethal Weapon, and I think that's like every dad has to show their son Lethal 100%. Weapon. Yeah,
we had all of them on VHS.
Yeah, I remember like there was a thing where my dad's like, "Have you seen Lethal Weapon?" I go, "No," and he's like, "Well, we gotta watch them all." And then and of course there's a talk. It's like the 4th one's not as good as the other ones. But do you ever think about like how quickly you'd have to like jump off the toilet and like get into like the
it's
bathtub?
Such a hard position to get
and it's not, you're not talking like it's a bathtub they're jumping into. That's hard. And Danny Glover's pants are down.
Let's go back to the 2000s.
Okay.
And let's talk about Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. If you don't know the history of Austin Powers, I'll give you a brief history. First one bombs. Absolute failure at the box office.
I thought it was huge.
No.
Oh.
What happens is it gets on VHS.
Oh, that's right. It is one of those big
and
VHS movies.
It's a blockbuster hit. People love it. My dad loved it. I loved it. The parody, the satire of James Bond, it killed James Bond movies as James Bond movies were coming back.
Yeah.
And they try it, and then so the success of the VHS hit Laserdisc also. Big on Laserdisc.
What?
I don't know if that's true.
I feel like Laserdisc
but Laserdisc were big in the late 90s, so.
Okay.
And they're also big. So they do a sequel, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and it is perfect. It takes like the sexual innuendo, so it plays with that, but he goes back in time.
Loses his mojo.
And that whole thing is just Mike Myers at his best.
Yeah.
It does suck that behind the scenes he's kind of a tyrant. I don't know if he is.
Yeah.
He might just be a perfectionist, and perfectionists are hard to work with, especially in the movie world.
Yeah.
Where everything is like perfectionism.
And after the first one just blows up, I mean, he just gets like creative control. I mean, like they're not going to tell him no.
Exactly. Yeah. So he probably was a little bit of a butthole.
Yeah.
Anyways, Heather Graham at her height of her popularity as well.
Yep.
Him as Dr. Evil. I mean,
well, it's the whole like let's go back in time, which James Bond could never. Never. Let's have fun with just the young versions of people. Like the idea that Rob Lowe is number 2, but then the same actress is still
yes.
Or that like Will Ferrell comes back and he's just kind of the same. Or it's just one of the things you're like, how do they pull this off? Like where you believe it, but it's just still so fantastic and so much fun.
And you get Mini-Me.
And you get Mini-Me. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
And it was one of the first few times like you saw a small person not be belittled for being a small person.
Yeah.
Like there was no jokes about him.
Yeah.
It was just that the cloning process went wrong.
Yeah.
And he's a Mini-Me.
And Scott was upset.
Yeah. Oh man, Scott and Dr. Evil's just those two alone make the movie.
I know. Oh, be honest though.
Yes.
What's the twist that Vanessa was a fembot like that?
Perfect.
Did that crush you? Or?
No, it was great because having watched James Bond movies as a kid as well, where it was always a new girl, and it was making fun of like James Bond being like just a womanizer, and then this one it's like, oh no, our James Bond, Austin Powers, actually fell in love and is gonna stay with her, and then they always kill him.
I do think that this forever changed James Bond for a while. That like. That's why Craig is so serious. Yeah. That's why Craig. I think that's why like Craig ends it the way he does, and it's very like they tried it with I can't remember Vesper and Madeline. That like no, he's a guy who loves women. You know he's still
James Bond.
He's James Bond, but also he can connect with like one person too. You know, like
it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Now our final one, I saved, not the best. But the one that JD wants to defend the hardest.
That I will defend till I die.
Which I don't think anybody agrees with you.
I think
there's been loud arguments in the newsroom about this.
And let me tell you about those arguments because they're funny. Because I think Sister Act Back in the Habit is better than Sister Act. In terms of a movie, the way that like a production, if it's better. But there's just something about it that it's more fun. It's a lot more fun than the first one. The first one, a little dark, a little very much like, hey, Vegas showgirl, boyfriend's a mobster. She has to like hide it in an abbey or like
But that plot premise is a classic Whoopi movie.
Yeah. So. Yes. And to then take that and say, you know what, she had such an impact on these women's lives that now they are asking her to come back and teach and to have that same impact on a group of children. And this is in the time where it's like, man, kids are really struggling these days. What if what if a substitute came in and like, you know, like really just like hammered down on them, or like what if you know, an idealistic teacher comes in and changes the way, you know, that they think. And so the argument in the newsroom always starts as no, Sister Act 1 is better. And I say, tell me what you remember about Sister Act 1. It's like, well, you know, because you and I kind of, you know, like it's like she's teaching the kids.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and like she has a classroom in the attic. And I'm like, no, that's Sister Act 2. and like, oh, no, because then they sing at the end. No, Sister Act 2. Lauryn Hill is in this movie,
yes.
who is fantastic in this movie. I love Lauryn Hill.
She should have acted more.
I think Miseducation is one of the greatest albums ever made. And, but she is fantastic. All the other kids are really great singers, maybe not great actors. But you have Maggie Smith who comes back. Mm-hmm. You have Kathy Najimy who comes back. Like the old cast comes back and they're kind of growing. You know, it's like it picks up and it kind of continues like their growth. And that they're like, oh, they didn't just fall back into their old ways. Yeah. They're just as like goofy as Whoopi now. You know, they're kind of fun. Then they go and they have to perform this choir. Like they're in this choir competition and they do a rendition of Joyful Joyful that is so great, so 90s that you have two dudes rapping over it, and they're wearing one of them is wearing like overalls, but like short overalls that like go to, like to their shin, and it's so good. Can't forget Whoopi singing James Brown.
Whoopi's great
as she's raising money,
and
they bring her the cave, and she's like.
I think the reason people remember Sister Act 2 more is because it was on TV more.
It was
easier to play this one on TV because the other one, like you said, is a little darker tone to it. This one, you could put on a cable channel and you could watch it and didn't have to edit much. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, this is a bygone era. Zoomers might not know this, but a lot of stuff you saw on TV was heavily edited. You had, not only did you have pan and scan, but you had redubs of like cuss words.
Yep.
So,
Mr.
Falcon. But you also get like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Or just like trimming little things just to get it to a commercial.
That ruined the movie.
Yeah.
So I think this one just played on TV more.
Yeah. But it's just really, I think I hope they do a Sister Act 3. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But this one really is, I think this one takes what the first one did. I think it's a perfect setup for a movie of like, why would she come back? Why would she be like this? Why would they need her to be like this? Oh yeah, also the school's closing, classic. And they need the money from the competition to get school open.
Do you think Sister Act 2 and Sister Act 1 inspired School of Rock?
I'd say, a little bit.
Same, I would assume the replacements also.
Yeah, I think this really does, it's like, what if we took someone who is really great at something and put them in a situation where that thing exists, but needs to go harder.
Hey, before we leave you, can we officially say all of the American Pie sequels are worse than the first one? Can we say that?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the sequels, at least, while not great, the sequels at least really put into perspective how trash Stifler is. I feel like the first movie really makes you think Stifler's cool, and in the sequels, he just is constantly been like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. But they're all terrible people.
They're all terrible people.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of great sequels out there, better than the originals. We chose some crazy ones. Yeah. If you have any crazy ones.
Mighty Ducks, D2.
No, absolutely not. But let us know, and we'll see you on the flippity flip.